Right. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Worcestershire Ambassadors Podcast. Today, we are talking about a slightly sensitive subject. So if you don't want to listen any further, then I advise to go off now. But we're going to be talking about PSA testing and prostate cancer. So I'm Paul Chester. I'm one of the directors of Worcestershire Ambassadors. And Phil, do you want to introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about you and what you do business-wise?
Yeah, I'm Phil Schiaffino. I own a company that I formed in 2020 called Britannia Dynamic Logistics. It's been going for 5 years, as you probably gathered, and it's a very successful business. And I fully support what the Worcester Ambassadors stand for and do. And I've got a funny feeling that if it wasn't for them, I perhaps wouldn't be here today. But there you go. That's me.
Fabulous. No spoilers, because we'll come on to that in a minute.
Okay.
No, that's good. So just wanted to start off, obviously, can you just briefly you've sort of shared about your professional background a little bit with your business, but can you share about why you're part of the Worcestershire Ambassadors, and then also lead on to what led you to attend the PSA testing last March, wasn't it? Yeah, last March.
Well, I mean, I was asked to join the organisation purely as I think it's maybe a spin-off from the Chamber of Commerce, which we're members of as well. As regards to my business, it's been my background for nearly 30 years now. I was sadly made redundant in 2020 during COVID and just before Brexit. I had a brain wave of thinking, well, if I know all the contacts that I do and the knowledge that I've got, then why shouldn't I just try and set up the business myself, which I did with a couple of other guys from this very kitchen table. And as I said, during Brexit as well, which everybody thought I was perhaps a little bit bonkers. I did a bit of feedback. From people that I know within the industry and also customer base, supply base, and everybody's just basically said, look, we'll support you, Phil. I think it's a great idea. People buy from people, I like to think. And it's just gone from strength to strength. And then from after sort of 8 months, we opened offices at Offerton Barnes. We currently have 9 members of staff there, of which are all fully dedicated, and it's a great environment to work in, very fast paced. It is 24/7, but as I said, it's just gone from strength to strength, and we all love our environment of where we work as well. As regards to the ambassadors themselves, I was pushed into, if you want to say, to go to have a PSA test by my wife. Which, not reluctantly, but that the ambassadors ran this scheme that you just rock up, you pay your 30 quid or whatever it was to have this easy enough blood test. I went there thinking nothing was wrong because I'd got no symptoms whatsoever. Pretty much still do to this day. And 2-3 days later, an email came through, one of those where you just click on it and it has like a smiley face or a not smiley face. And in my case, my wife was leaning over my shoulder and we opened it and went, oof, that's not good. Obviously, I wouldn't say panic set in, but I thought, right, that day or that night, I contemplated and phoned the doctors for another PSA test. That came back positive as well. And then that journey started really. Went to the doctors, had an examination. Something wasn't quite right. Then I had an MRI scan probably a week or so later, I think it was. So we're probably so the PSA test itself was March 2025. We're probably in end of April now. And then I had a biopsy probably 2 weeks after the MRI scan because that came back positive. I had the biopsy and I think it was about 90 samples taken, which I must admit is is not the most comfortable process to go through or procedure. And then that obviously confirmed everything, what the count was, and what stage I was at. And luckily it was at an early stage. I then went for radiotherapy in October of the year just gone. 20 sessions of radiotherapy, which are very inintrusive. You just basically lie on a machine. It scans you, it sends the radio waves through you, and targets that actual area of your prostate and your bowel area. And just this week, I went for a blood test to see how it was, of which I'm waiting for the results for tomorrow. Actually, should be either today or tomorrow, and with tomorrow being Friday.
Fab.
So that's where I'm at.
By the time this goes live, we can update everybody on what the results are. So that if you're happy to do that, obviously, I think that'd be really good. Fab, thank you. So obviously kind of, shared about your initial reaction and a bit of the journey, which is great. Can you just talk to us, I guess, about some of maybe the fears that you had when you kind of found out kind of what was going through your head? I'd imagine quite scared, I'm sure. A bit of an understatement, maybe.
To be honest, I wasn't that scared because I'd got a feeling that it was caught pretty early on. Obviously, the fact that prostate cancer is such a big word in the media these days, and this is the reason why really I agreed to do this, to actually get people to go for tests, because as I said, I wouldn't have gone unless this initiation that was pushed upon me, simply and purely because I've got no symptoms. But that doesn't mean to say that you haven't got prostate cancer. But in answer to your question, all the way along, really, I hadn't got a fear that, I was going to die early on, or I am going to die early on. I've still kept that positive mental attitude, which I think is important. And as long as you've got that, you can put that upon your nearest and dearest as well. And they then can feed off that, and it becomes not less a worry, if you like.
No, that's great. So obviously you mentioned about the treatment and the journey. How did you manage to juggle that with your kind of professional life and as you said before, run a successful business?
Again, I just used it as something that I had to do. I didn't let it interrupt my work. I told certain people that what I was going through because I felt it important to share again.
Did you tell sorry to interrupt, Phil, did you tell many of the team there? Because you kind of said you've got, a fairly large team. Did you tell many people at work?
I told everybody at work. Yeah, okay. I felt that was important. Especially when I was coming up to the actual treatment for radiotherapy. Phil's gone out again. But I would make sure that although I'd had the radiotherapy, I was a little bit fatigued. I tried my best to isolate, but I would go to radiotherapy in the afternoon. And then I'd go back to work. I'd just get on my laptop and just continue a normal day. And then I'd probably have a bit of don't tell everyone this, but a bit of a snooze in the afternoon. And then I'd just get on with it again. And but the only thing that really affected me was the fatigue. Mentally, I just tried to stay as strong as possible for me and for those around me.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, great. So obviously kind of keeping kind of along our thoughts of the business, obviously as a business owner, as most business owners are, they are, strategic and planning and looking ahead, etc. How kind of did you cope with the uncertainty? I know you said that, you're always positive, you always kind of, presumed it had been caught early and you never really kind of let it scare you. But I guess it's still that uncertainty possibly, which is so different from that kind of world of business where we're looking ahead. We've got a strategy. We know what's generally, not always, but we know what's going to happen. And obviously then thrown in that uncertainty of a cancer diagnosis. How did you kind of deal with that, I suppose?
In the way that I referred to earlier, really, I know I've got in place people that are under me that can carry on the business should anything untoward happen. That's always been the case. Having said that, obviously you don't know what is going to happen in future years, but the business would always succeed. That was never a worry.
That's good. I guess that's, as you said before, you've put plans in place for anything, like this always, isn't it? You've got people under you that can carry on a business, and that's the sign of a successful business and successful businessman. So do you think that your kind of definition of success has changed? Obviously, I'm presuming that we all know which way we want the results to go tomorrow, and the success will be, the all clear. But as your kind of definition of success, I guess your outlook on life is perhaps a bit of a, more cheesy way of putting it, but has that kind of, what is success to you and what is, a win to you, has that changed in the last, nearly 12 months, I suppose?
It's only changed in the fact that I've sort of appreciated certain things in my life now. I've perhaps took a little bit more of a step back with work and tried to, I mean, the main bulk of it has all happened during the winter months. So, I'm hoping to reap the benefits a bit more when it gets a bit nice on the weather front and get out there and play a bit of golf and what I can do that makes me tick, really. But let's see what happens tomorrow, as they say.
Yeah,
but nothing's on hold. Nothing will be any different regardless of the results. I'll just go back and I'll have more treatment and I'll keep fighting, and that's something I've tried to instill into everybody, really. You've just got to have that PMA, as they say, and just carry on going.
Yeah, of course. No, that's great to hear. I think kind of part of the reason why I was asked to do this podcast is there's a history of prostate cancer in my family. So my granddad, so all down the same side, my granddad actually passed away from prostate cancer, or do they say passed away with it? I'm not sure, but it was an early, he passed away early because of it. My dad has it as well, but will probably die with it, if that makes sense. Sorry to kind of go into the death word here. So it's that thing of, it's really interesting to hear you talk about the PMA and the positivity, because, without being around the bush, it's very likely that I will have it at some point in my life. I'm the ripe old age of 38 now, so I'm still relatively young, but it's that, doctors are obviously kind of keeping half an eye and having, even now having sort of 5 yearly PSA tests, and, I'm still very young and they're not worried about it, but it's that thing of at some point, it's probably gonna, it will be on me, sort of thing. And it's really interesting to hear you talk about that kind of positivity. And, I guess for a lot of people, the word cancer does scare people, doesn't it? As soon as they hear that, and it's still got, although we've moved on with modern medicine and, how well we can treat things now, it's still got that kind of fear, I suppose, attached to the word, hasn't it? So it's just really interesting to hear you talk about that kind of positivity. And, kind of met you quite a few times and know you are a positive guy anyway.
I think really the key with this is getting it out there, and what the ambassadors did for me personally, and what I'm hoping, and it is obviously making noises now through the government side of things, is that the PSA test becomes a test that you have to have on a annual basis, depending on your age and your physicality and everything. But it's just getting it out there, and that's why I agreed and pushed for this as well, because I'm not saying that the ambassadors thought about interviewing me, but I just wanted to try and reach out as much as possible to all those ambassador members, and this will go out to other people as well, I'm sure. I can't feel any more grateful for what the ambassadors have actually done for me, not knowing that they were doing it at the time, and obviously grateful for my wife to actually say, get your ass down to the cricket club.
You say that because we often talk in our board meetings about the events that we do, and often we say that this is the most important, event we ever do. Yes, obviously the cricket days and the golf days and the balls are great fun, and they raise brilliant funds for loads of amazing charities. But this is a really specific cause, isn't it? That actually this is the most important thing we'll do. And as you sort of mentioned earlier at the start of this, that potentially could have saved your life because you didn't have any symptoms, you didn't have any thoughts that you could possibly even have prostate cancer, and because you went to it thanks to what the ambassador's doing, and obviously your wife, as you said, you went along, and, whilst it wasn't the result you wanted, I guess, by not doing it, it could have been a lot, a much worse kind of outcome, couldn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, they got it in an early stage. I wouldn't have wanted to go another 5, 6, 7, 8 months or however long it might be until I started to get symptoms, and then thought, right, so this year's Ambassadors roll-up is another year on, and I might be I would have been a year down the line where, I better go because I seem to be going to the loo a little bit too often. Things don't seem too right, but touch wood, it's not the case. And I'm touch wood again, fighting fit for the results tomorrow, which I'm pretty confident about.
Good. Oh, well, that's back to that positivity again, isn't it? And, I'm sure you'll tackle whatever the results are tomorrow head on, and whether it's a positive or a negative result.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I guess just kind of, ideally, you've talked a bit about your treatment and what's happened. I guess it's just, I can hear you've said quite a few times encouraging people to go. I think we just kind of would ideally like to end on almost what would you say to people? Kind of almost like not a plea as such. The ambassadors, obviously, as we know, do lots of events and raise money for charity, but this one is not a moneymaker, if you like, for the ambassadors. So it's not a kind of a come and give us your money. It's what would you say to anybody who's thinking, maybe, or I might leave it till next year, or I'm not sure what is best involved, and what would you say?
I think I'm a little bit of an ambassador for the ambassadors on that front and that certain topic of prostate cancer, because anybody that is not thinking about going, I think they're absolutely stupid, because it's there, it's on your doorstep. And especially the fact that I had no symptoms, Paul, and it's that makes no difference whatsoever. And I think if you are of a certain age, why wouldn't you? Why leave it until you do get or possibly get symptoms? Just go, and it's the nurses were brilliant. I had a great laugh with them. And obviously at that point, I had no idea what the outcome was going to be. Go with someone that that's in the ambassadors as well. If you're a little bit apprehensive about it, then just go with somebody. I went with Johnny Wilkes, same time. And, it was at the end, had the test, which again, I'll emphasize is a painless test. They're brilliant. They know what they're doing. They know where to stick the needle. And you're there for 5 minutes of your life, which could change your life. And so obviously Johnny's had his results and he was all clear, which is brilliant. And, I spoke to him. Yeah, to find out that it was positive. Sorry, I'm getting a bit upset. But
No, you're fine. Don't worry. It's a sensitive subject, so I understand.
But yeah, I mean, I'm the living, breathing proof that the Ambassadors is a great organisation.
Yeah, I mean, I can, vouch for that. Love being part of it. I can see obviously there's potentially a sense of the emotion is from, I guess a relief. I know we don't know the results yet as well, but there's that kind of, relief that you did it and potentially caught it early. And, there's obviously been a lot of emotion for you over the last, like I said, what's nearly 12 months now. And, I can imagine it's been a pretty tough time, real understatement, but a roller coaster of, you said yourself, I'm going along with a friend, it's a bit of fun with the nurses, and then suddenly to get those results. And obviously here we are, kind of what now you said April, so sort of 8 or so months later, waiting for that final, what we hope will be the final result. I can see there's a lot of emotion coming out around that.
Yeah, I mean, it's been tough, I'm not going to gloss it. But as I said, this isn't the first time I got emotional about it, but it's just, you go through that process and then you just hope that at the end of it, you get good news and a good result, which, I'm sure I will. I'm confident.
Yeah. Thank you. I think we've put you through the ringer enough today with all the questions.
Not at all.
So I do.
I'm renowned for being a bit of a crier, so
there's nothing wrong with a cry. I'm the same. There's nothing wrong with that. It's all good. But listen, Phil, we obviously want to say kind of best of luck for tomorrow or for today, whenever they come through. Please let us know. I just hope that for people watching this, and I know you're the same, and this is why you wanted to do this, is that even if just one person goes along and, gets that early diagnosis for whatever reason, I think would just make a huge difference. Yeah.
There's one thing actually I did mean to ask a bit earlier on is what the results were from that actual walk-in on that day. You know, how many positives there were, and if you are or if you were privy to that information,
Yeah.
it would be quite interesting to find that out.
It would be. Yeah, I don't have that, but I can certainly find out. And again, we can, add it on to the end of this podcast video. So yeah, I think it would be interesting. I know of another one at least, who is also hoping to do a podcast with us as well. But I'm sure there's more that, were found on that last
Yeah.
PSN in March. So yeah, but like you said, yeah, I don't have the figures, but we can find them easily and pop
Yeah,
on.
no, that'd be interesting to know.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like to be the only one.
No, well, I know you're definitely not. I know there's definitely another
I
one.
like to be special, but not in that way.
You are special, Phil. Don't worry, you are special. But look, I honestly, again, a huge thank you, not only for being prepared to do this, but just for encouraging others to go. And we know that you are out there, as you said, and being an ambassador for the ambassadors, and particularly around this event. So yeah, kind of hugely appreciative. It will always be the most important event that we will do. And just want to echo your words really and encourage anybody that is thinking about it. Don't delay, go and do it. It's 5th of March. It's just to turn up, go with a friend. Doesn't have to be an ambassador, just anybody. And yeah,
I'm quite prepared to actually turn up on the 5th of March if you want, just to do a bit of encouragement to in any way, capacity or form. I don't know if that is something you may have thought of, but I'm quite happy.
I'm sure that'd be amazing. I'm sure we'd absolutely love that. And I'm sure people who are there would love to, hear your story as well. And, you can see that you're passionate about getting other people tested. So I'm sure that would be brilliant. But yeah, we can kind of chat about that nearer the time. That'd be great. Thank you, everybody. And we'll see you on the next Ambassadors podcast.